anything else you purchase off the Wealth Financial platform. So let's get started, everyone. Let me start by sharing my screen here. What I'm going to do today is not just show you some PowerPoint slides, which I'm going to do because there's some stuff that I can only do it that way, but I also want to actually jump on our website as well. I want to show you what Everest is all about. And as we do that, let's have a conversation about not just what it means for your family once you're no longer here, because that's essentially what is life insurance is all about, but really how we can live our best life now, and Everest can go a long way. And having you achieve that very elusive, that peace of mind, that house being in order, which I think is the bigger question we're trying to answer at this point. I think the average American isn't simply out there looking for a X amount of death benefit to land on my family's lap one day once I'm dead. That's not the question I'm personally trying to answer. And I don't think that's a question you're trying to answer. I think for most people we work with, that question is too simple. It is about experiences. It is about making sure that's a comprehensive approach to what we want to get done, not just again for them, but for our life today. So let's keep those things in mind as we do this, because I'm going to show you what the Everest package looks like. So if you own the Everest package right now, or you own the FFIUL 09 Transamerica IUL for at least $250,000, everything I'm about to show you today, you already have. And if you're not familiar with it, then today would be a great day to get started. So I'm going to show you how to get logged in, all the way to how to create all those documents, etc. And as we do that, again, let's connect those dots between not just the value propositions of Everest, but what does all those things mean to my life and my family's lives that I work with to ensure, again, it's not just about, X amount of dollars, but that peace of mind and those experiences that we want to create for ourselves and our loved ones. Very, very good. So let's get started by talking about man, oh man, right? Seems like we got some semblance of normalcy in our lives, but every time it feels a little bit like that, other things seems to happen. Coming off of not just COVID a few years ago, but things happening politically, domestically, internationally, wars happening. And then, of course, banks starts going under. So all these things that we traditionally felt like should be there for us to help us feel some semblance of sure-footedness, a lot of times aren't there anymore. And when these things happen, of course, Americans find it upon themselves to do something about it. And when they do, our business gets the benefit of it, because quite honestly, these are the times, unfortunately, when Americans finally wake up sometimes to the reality of the mortality of life and making sure that we're being proactive, making sure we're doing the things today that's going to ensure a better tomorrow, not just for families that our kids and stuff, but for ourselves as well. Retirement, our nest egg, what does that kind of look like for us? And these are all very important questions that, unfortunately, unless things like these things happen, most Americans aren't really focused about. But guess what? It's happening, and they're focused. Even though you've had record number of success the last few years, not just World Financial Group and Everest, I'm talking about life insurance industries as a whole, financial services in general, but the number of Americans that need life insurance has been growing at a much faster pace. And this is something I bring up often, you guys, because I need you to be very emboldened about what you're doing and be encouraged that what you have to say is going to resonate with Americans more now than ever before. Because even with all that success, over a third of the American adults are currently in the need gap category of not just needing life insurance. Clearly, empirically, I can see that from the outside in, but they themselves are self-aware of that fact. The fact that they're self-aware of the fact that I need life insurance or need more of it is a massive difference, and why I think this success you've been having is only going to continue for the next few years. Now, I looked at some of the top 10 reasons, right? So LIMRA produced a report. I looked at it. LIMRA is this down here. They are an amazing organization, and they produce amazing content all throughout the year. But during the barometer study I looked at, they gave out the top 10 reasons why Americans haven't moved forward, because the demand is unprecedented. There's all this pent-up demand. Why haven't they moved forward? Now, the top 10 reasons given, I thought these two were very much, they're poignant, right? The fact that 46% of those with nothing and over a third of those with something but need more said, I haven't done it because no one's called, texted, emailed, or reached out to me, which I thought was crazy. But even though you get reached out to, which is number 2 down here, right? It's usually someone that's faceless, I don't have a relationship with. I get maybe a phone number and an email address. I'm supposed to depend on them to be there for me and my family for the next 20, 30 years on this financial journey. I'm not sure if I can rely on them as well. And that's unfortunate that these things are getting in the way, but how perfectly positioned are you? I mean, the evangelism of what we do and the good news, something that's kind of built into our DNA. And we work with people that love us and we care about, we love them, and we're invested in this relationship that's going to be more than just a couple of days, couple of years. We're investing in this long term. So again, not only is there's all this demand, but the business model itself is really lending well to all the things Americans are looking for. Now, once Americans work with someone like you, and they buy life insurance. I've shown you this list before. These are the top 10 reasons, I'm sorry, top 5 reasons why they actually buy life insurance, right? And all the usual suspects are there. If you're in the business for more than a few months, I know at least the bottom 4 topics are things that come up ubiquitously, almost mandatory. If you own a home, we need to pay off the house, retirement income, leaving money behind, replacement of income. Like all these things should be brought up. They're top 5 reasons why the Americans buy life insurance. But look at number 1, and it's not even close. It never is. Like every year, burial and final expense comes in number 1 by a large margin. And that's the unfortunate part, that we as a professionals of the life insurance industry, even though that's number 1 in terms of what's on our clients' mind, it's the last thing we want to bring up when we're sitting down with them. And those are opportunities to make sure our clients are taken care of in a way they want to be, they deserve to be, but also your business needs to be taken care of the way it needs to be and deserves to be as well. And Everest can do both. So that's why we've been number 1. And I don't know how more clearly to say it, but Everest is the reason why we're so successful is because we are literally the best in class solution for the number 1 reason why Americans buy life insurance. Period. Again, if you want to sell clothes and shoes, sell things people want to wear, sell food, sell things people want to eat. If I sell life insurance, I want to make sure all the major needs are taken care of. You saw the top 5. Please continue to bring up the bottom 4 that you saw in there. We got to make sure this gets taken care of as well. And that's where Everest is here, to make sure that we can have that conversation in a powerful way that is going to do things in a way that they've never seen done before. So who are we? I love talking about our background, because our background alignment in terms of story doesn't align no better than with WFG than anyone else on the platform, because we got started on the WFG platform in Canada a couple of dozen years ago. We're not an old company, right? And since we got started, about 10 years after that, we launched into the United States exclusive to WFG as well. And as some of you veterans already know, we've got about 30 million members and families that rely on Everest. Anything were to happen to them anywhere in the world, they know we got them. And of course, along with that, we're currently offered, and I'm very proud to say this, and not just a lot of NGOs and nonprofits and some amazing organizations, but a lot of Fortune 100 companies as well, like again Tesla and Google and Apple and Meta, aka Facebook, Starbucks. They all offer Everest to their employees. But again, the limited exposure of Everest to the marketplace is a value add to your clients through you. Even though we're offered at these amazing companies part of their employment benefits package, unless your clients know you here at WFG, chances are they'll never find us. You can say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, we can do things no one else can, and offer you things and services and no one else can as well. And I think that should be part of your conversation. Very good. Now, what is the Everest package? I'm going to go through all the programs with you today in person, but I want you to keep in mind that above and beyond all that stuff, first things first, and this is what really sets us apart as well, is our death benefit pays out faster than anyone else, faster than anything else that you may have. Faster than anything on the WFG platform, that's for sure. Our death benefit pays out within 2 days or less after contestability. And we do that because your family needs it, right? I mean, that annuity, that IUL, that term, they're going to thank you for that. It does amazing things, but it can't do the things that we do. They take about several weeks if you're lucky, most likely a couple of months before any of that pays out. You can have $10 million worth of life insurance in your portfolio, and no, ma'am, no, sir, not a dollar that will be there for your family for the first few weeks. Let's change that. Let's change that. And that's what Everest can do. We make sure our money pays out within a couple of days. That's that bridge money before fill in the blank, whatever else you have in plan, right? That's that gap insurance. Because it's not just about the life insurance. It's not just about the life event, I should say, but it's about life, right? It's about that mortgage, grocery, light bill, those things that have to continue to get paid. We're going to make sure those things happen. So along with the money that pays out right away, well, everything else doesn't. We're going to surround it with some amazing tools, starting with a 24/7 concierge, somebody with experience and compassion, who speaks almost 200 languages, who's going to do some amazing things for you and your family. We'll talk about them here more in a minute. We got Will Prep as well. Will Prep is your ability to create all your basic legal protections, like a legal Zoom in your back pocket, if I dare say. And that comes with the Everest package as well. I'll show you what that looks like. And Tenzing. And as you kind of see, like all these things is not just about life, just the money that pays out. It's really about making sure different aspects of our lives are covered. Tenzing is cloud memory. Anywhere there's internet, I can access my life, whether it be on my desktop, laptop, whether it be the free app I can download on the Apple or Android store. Anywhere there's internet, I can access my life. And that's not an exaggeration. So you can kind of see how all these tools kind of fit together to make sure that this journey isn't a passive one that I simply purchase life insurance from you and I put away. This is an active one. I'm going to engage in and participate in and make sure that I've got some say in what this all looks like. And Everest is going to give your clients a tool to have some semblance of that when almost everything else you sell them do not, right? So along with Tenzing, we give you Price Finder as well. The best example I can give, it's not a very good one, is like Amazon and Yelp kind of put together. This program is going through a massive refresh, more features, more power. They're going to launch this in a few weeks, hopefully, definitely before summer. And but I'll show you what it looks like today. And we're the only company in the world with everyone's prices. There's 25,000 of these guys, right? And they don't like sharing prices. We're the only ones with it because, again, transparency. Blind spots are where the margins are created, I think, in lots of parts of our lives, but especially here. And we want to make sure we're as transparent as possible, plus so much more. We'll visit those tools today as well. But before we look at all that, I want to start again with the senior advisors or the funeral concierge. That's what we call them. And there's only a handful of them. We don't have an army of them sitting somewhere in a foreign country. That's not what this is about, you guys. We're only a handful of them, all located here in the United States, because these amazing people have two things in common. One is years of experience, on average 10 plus years. And number two, every one of them are currently licensed funeral directors as well, because we want to make sure not only do they have breadth of experience, but on top of their game in terms of what's current. Because these amazing people in over 200 languages in just about anywhere in the world, respectful of your culture, your religion, it doesn't matter, right? They're going to do some three things for your family. I think it's critical, right? Number one, they're going to help arrange the funeral. Whether it's 50, 60 people locally where you live, whether it requires international logistics, you may end up in a couple of different countries. We've done all of that. We're going to make sure that those things occur. Number two, while we're there, we're going to make sure you pay as little as possible. Make sure we negotiate where we can. Better yet, make sure they don't add things frivolously that you don't need, where a large part of the margins come from. We're vested. We're not objective. We're absolutely biased. We're biased on making sure your family is taken care of. And a big way we're going to do that is handle the logistics, make sure you pay as little as possible, because every dollar we save doesn't come back to us. It doesn't go back to the family, of course. It all goes back to, doesn't go back to the industry. All goes back to your family in the same couple of days, within those same very, very important couple of hours. So the next question then becomes this: how does Everest work so quickly to pay our death benefit out when everything else I've just sold my clients or I may own takes several weeks? I know my family's going to be vulnerable. How does Everest get around that? Well, we don't get around it. It's just that our death benefit behaves very differently than anyone else's, because they require a death certificate from the county, wherever they passed away, along with lots of paperwork, interviews, perhaps lots, and it's a pretty long process. And that's assuming they die in the U.S. If they pass away overseas, you get additional layers of bureaucracy where, again, you've drawn that out exponentially. Not us here. Listen, we're going to work with your loved ones. Contact the local medical authority wherever your loved one passed away. If it's a hospice or hospital, sometimes some type of medical facility, very easily done. But even in like vacation villages and cruise lines and places like that, there's medical authority there as well. We'll work with them, confirm the passing of a loved one. Money's on its way. We want to make sure that happens quickly, and that's something we've done. We've done over 20,000 funerals, and the commitment to that is something we take very, very lot of pride in. Very good. So, along with the concierge, who does all those amazing things in those languages anywhere in the world, and along with the money that actually pays out when you actually need it, right? All the other services we're going to talk about today are all located here, except it's not. This is well, give me a second. I'm sorry, guys. This is a Canadian email or the URL. That should be .com. There you go. That is the URL of our client's website. There it is, right there. And whether you got us through the FIUL, the Everest package, or you got us through working at Tesla or Beta, this is where you would go. Meta, I'm sorry, this is where you go to access all the services. And let me show you what that looks like. Here it is. And again, if you own the FIUL 09 for at least $250,000 or the Everest package, what I'm about to show you already have. And if you've never been in there before, here's how simple it is to register. You click on login. And first-time users come here. Current existing users will come here. If it's the first time, we need 2 pieces of information from you. That's it. We need an email address or whichever you use to purchase that particular life insurance product with. And then the enrollment code, which is your policy number. Here at Everest, because we work with American, that policy number starts with 2 letters. I and an A. If you bought this or you got the Everest package through Transamerica, those FFIU policy numbers start with 2 numbers, 6 and a 6. Put those 2 pieces of information in here, register, and you log in, and this is what it looks like. It's a landing page here. We got Tenzing, which is your digital vault we talked about. We locate all your good stuff. A will prep here. We generate all your basic legal protections. You got Price Finder here, which is all the prices we talked about, Plus, you're noticing planning tools and resources. Let's stop by them each real quickly here. So resources, I like a lot, actually. It's a library, you can call it that. It's a library where you'll find things that we put together like this here, we can't find anywhere else. Additionally, with things that we found along the way. And all this is about, again, creating transparency. We talked about blind spots or where margins are created, where revenues are created. That's why there's CPAs and there's lawyers. There's reason for that. And this situation is no different. But unfortunately, a lot of the blind spots are self-created ignorance or self-created, to be quite honest with you. We don't want to think about it until it's too late. And then we try to gather as much information as possible when there isn't a lot. And so we want to make sure that we educate our clients and in default, their immediate circle, because a lot of our clients are agents or they're just clients that want to share this information with their network. And this is where we can find a lot of great stuff. So I'm going to just kind of sidetrack here real quickly. If you're an agent that owns Everest, first of all, thank you very much. But I want to let you know that right now, agents all across World Financial Group have found some creative ways to leverage Everest and things that are kind of built in innately to do more business with your within the networks of your clients. This is one example of that. So our agents have actually pulled these reports out, printed them, or attached them onto emails, shared them with their community. You're sharing information with them that they can't find anywhere else. And that starts some great conversations about not just Everest, but what you do and about life insurance in general. That's one area I like to highly recommend. If you own the Everest package and you're an agent of WFG, please leverage that. I've started some amazing conversations. That's happening already today. The other place I want to stop by before we look at all the major services is planning tools here. Planning tools is a series of 3 documents. By the time you're done filling these things out, you're going to leave a really good impression of what that life event should look like, not just for you and your family, but for Everest as well. So we have that point to work off of once you pass away to make sure you create that event for your loved ones. Now, total honesty here. When I joined Everest, I got this. It took me about a year to actually fill all these out. I didn't want to. But I did. I mean, I love my family. My little quick backstory. I'm married. I've got 3 young kids. My oldest is only 8. My youngest is 3. You guys, very, very young. And I thought about them, of course. I started on this little journey here, filling these things out. Halfway through, I don't think enjoyment is the right word, but I was engrossed. I was into it. By the time I was done, cathartic. That's the word. And I know it's a well-known fact. You write things down that it kind of burdens you. It helps you feel better. I guess that's kind of what this is. But you know, it's much more than that because these are things that you're going to leave in terms of your legacy, leaving kind of wishes behind with your family and Everest to make sure those things occur. And knowing that every day that because you've done that, you can sleep a little better, know that there's things that are kind of in the works. I love it, guys. So if you own the Everest package, please go through this process. I think you'll like it. And if you sell the Everest package, encourage your clients to go through this. It'll be cathartic for them, but more importantly, they'll use the products you sell, and that's always good for them and good for your business as well. Very, very good. So now let's look at the main kind of services we talked about earlier, starting with will prep. And of course, this is the ability to create all your basic legal protections. And again, if you own this, you have this today, please use it. And it's brought to you by a company called Epoch Legal, EPOQ Legal. Right, there it is. And they brought a software called LawShore to the US and Canadian market. And here's how simple it is to use it. There's 3 different types of documents you can create. Under every one of these major folders, you can find, of course, all the corresponding documents to that. So for example, if I want to create a will for a married person, I would go click on wills, the state or the region, because we're in Canada as well. And here they all are, all the documents associated with wills. And if I want to create the document itself, click on get started. And it's a very simple, intuitive, powerful tool you'll have, and you'll be able to sell, which I think is amazing. So, to plain system. As I answer basic questions here, this document gets created in real time. 2 progress bars, a percentage-based one up here that'll continue to move up to 100%, and a tile-based one where every one of these tiles corresponds to a different section of the document you are creating. As long as this progresses towards 100, as long as these tiles continue to turn green, you're at the right track. If it turns red, you got to go back and fix something. Okay, so here's how easy this is. If I've got any questions about the questions themselves, little icon here, you click on that, explains it for you. And of course, 24/7, 365, 2 customer service locations here in the United States, both located here in the US. You're not calling overseas, you're not calling some foreign here. Though 24/7, almost 200 languages, they will guide and support you and your clients every step of the way. You will fully feel supported. So you guys, I mentioned my personal story earlier. I've got 3 young kids, and I think it's a well-known fact that I wasn't living most of my life the way I probably should in terms of being responsible and being legally protected. Like those weren't things that were normally part of my daily life thought until I had my first child. That's like my wake up call. I think that's something I think a lot of you could kind of relate to. But I'm not afraid to say it. I didn't have kids till later in my life. That's kind of when I kind of woke up to how finite life can be and how impactful decisions that you make today can have into the future. I think when you're younger, you don't quite realize that connection, but I think as you get older, you start seeing that more and more. And then once you have a child, you're like, oh crap, I need to do things now for their future as well. So for me, going out there and buying my first set of legal documents with an attorney was not a big deal. To me, that was just the natural progression for me, right? And spending almost $3,000 doing it, it felt like that's what I should have spent, felt okay. But of course, as you know, 2 years later, my second child will be born and my third child will be born 2 years after that. And things were moving very quickly, not just them, but just your life moves very, very quickly, right? And so having the way to create security and legal protection at your time, right? At the way you want to, when you have the time, when it could be 1 in the morning, it could be 1 in the afternoon. That's a very, very powerful tool to have to anyone, especially when they're in the mindset of saying, I'm interested in life insurance. I want to be responsible. I want to be proactive. And those are your clients. So for anyone that's fallen within that mindset, I think these things are just natural conversations that need to be had as well. And of course, I couldn't keep doing it. So I bought LegalZoom, which was great. It was a lot cheaper than, of course, paying for an attorney, but of course that is something that continues to raise their prices like all subscription plans do. I bought Dropbox as well because I wanted to make sure I had a cloud service. I paid almost $300 for external hard drive. I think like 2 terabytes back in the day. And of course you continue to need more. So I bought a subscription plan, which felt great. It was a lot cheaper than buying a larger hard drive, and I felt better organized. It was great. All my important documents are in there, but they keep raising their prices. I joined Everest. I'm like, oh my God. I get all these similar services. I was paying like 70, 80 bucks a month over there. I get all these very similar services, same protection, same access, same security, yet I'm paying so much less. I get so much more. And I think that's something that's easy to sell. And I think for people, again, that say, hey, I'm interested in making sure my family's protected. Hey, I've got a sense of responsibility and sense of, wanting to make sure that things are taken care of in the future. To that same exact person, I think being able to say, hey, listen, I've got a simple program here. You bought life insurance. Why don't we make sure we get not just money, but money that you can pay out when your family needs it, but also know you have any legal protection as well. We got you covered under the same program, Organize Your Life, same program. And I can do that for literally less than $1 a day. That's a very simple thing to pivot to, and Everest allows you to have that conversation with your clients. So I'm about halfway done, but I'm noticing I've got a red spot here. I missed something. I come back, I click on that tile. What am I missing? Oh, who is Mickey Mouse, my executor to my Donald Duck, the insured, the client? He is my BFF. I continue on, move on, so forth. Listen, I'm more than halfway done, very easy. How intuitive this is. It is powerful. It is engaging. It is something I can stay active with. It is something that I feel like I've got some semblance of control. Something that a lot of the insurance programs we offer, because it's simply just death benefits, maybe some living benefits, but it doesn't do these things where the clients can actually engage and use and really provide themselves and their family a little bit more peace of mind. And Everest is going to do that. So now that I've got created, what do I do with it? All my legal documents created, that's great. My will, my estate planning, my power of attorney, my advanced medical directive. I had an SMD call me about a month ago. She has a son that's in college, 19 years old. He got very ill. Normally, because he's an adult, they would have kept her kind of restricted in terms of his healing process. Because she owned the Everest package, she created a HIPAA authorization when she first got the Everest package before he even went to school. She leveraged that to be intimately involved in her son's healthcare while he was recuperating from the illness that he had. The access that she would normally not have had if it wasn't for the legal documents that you were able to create through the Everest package. There's so many great stories and great things that happen because of basic legal protection. And you can offer this to your clients. That's just part of what we're doing here as overall protection. Very, very good. So now that I've got all this created, where do I put it? We want to put it someplace safe, someplace I can access easy. And one day, many, many, many years from now, I can leave behind. And that right now is not the safe in your home. It's not the safe deposit box at your bank. It's cloud, right? With the available technology today, it's cloud. Of course, as part of the Everest package, you get that here with us. And what you're looking at here is the desktop version. Laptop desktop version, but I mentioned earlier, you go on your local app store, whether it's Android or Apple, you can download the Tenzing Everest and you can access it all your lives, whatever you upload, I should say, or download it anywhere there's internet access. Now, what you're finding here are all the major folders that were created by clicking on this little blue button here. And under every major folder, not every one of them, but many of them, you can find subfolders were created within. So for example, under insurance, there's 11 of them there. You also notice these initials here that are color coded. this is a very important group of people. Each initials, each little M&Ms, if you want to call it, or Skittles, represent a different person. As part of the Everest package, the client can select up to 4 designees. These designees hold a very important position. For example, maybe most important, they're the only ones with access to all the things that you upload and download into your Tenzing, which means that even if you're married to the deceased, you would need a court order to access all this if you're not one of the designees. And of course, designees typically are the people that are closest to the deceased. They're the ones that typically hold the most responsibility, putting a life plan together, working with the concierge. So these are important people. So here's what agents are doing within WFG, again, to not only add value and service, but generate more business for themselves. Sir, ma'am, thank you so much for the business, for the IUL Everest, whatever you sold. Now, as part of the Everest package, as you know, you can select the 4 designees. These are the only people that they've got certain responsibilities that are very important, including they're the only ones that have access to all the Tenzing information you'll be downloading. And of course, they're also uploading, and I should say, and they're also the ones that probably have the most amount of say in how all these things work out for you and your family when it's all said and done. So here's what I do. I offer this free service to all my clients that purchase an Everest package. Please select up to 4 designees. With their contact information, give them to me, I'll call them, or you can set up these one-on-one calls for me, or you can be there with me. But I love to explain to them what the designated responsibilities are and what they can be and how they can support this program for you. Agents are already having this conversation with their clients, and their clients that just purchased the Everest package will enthusiastically put you in touch with 2 to 4 of their closest friends, closest relatives, people that they deem designees for this program. They'll do it. Please take advantage of that. Make sure they understand they've got people around them supporting them on the Everest package, but make sure you're able to do more business, talk to them about what you do for a living as well. Very, very good. So I created all these things. I want to go a little deeper. I click on insurance here. I'm expecting 11 subfolders, and there they are. I click on Everest. I can put notes in there. There it is. I uploaded my insurance information, homeowner's insurance policy, the recipes, home movies, books you're writing, the recipes you love, etc. Right? That's what this is. Because the duality of Everest is what makes us different. Yeah, it's life insurance, let alone final expense. That's what we are. But the ironic part is we're more dual. We offer the duality of your clients using us every day while they're still alive, living their best life today, better organized, better sense of peace of mind, and make better, more efficient with their life as well. And all these things are occurring not because they're thinking about dying one day. They're doing all this stuff to make their life better today. But the great part about Everest is we invest in it today for us. We're actually investing into the experience our family's going to have at the end. And I think that's something that makes us different and worth, again, talking about with your clients as well. Very, very good. So these are the major pillars. The last one I want to show you guys right now is Price Finder. I mentioned there's a lot of these guys. I also mentioned that the blind spots where the margins are created, and you add them together and kind of lens for a very treacherous road when it comes to having to deal with this industry. And again, 25, some basic facts here, right? 25,000 funerals and crematories all over US and Canada, 25,000 of them. We also know that 5 out of 6 of us only go into one before we sign a contract. We know that as well. And they know that as well. So their entire business model isn't about simply giving you information, educating you. I mean, think about all the other major purchases in your life, whether you got immediate guidances like a real estate agent, or whether you're actually doing it on your own, looking for car prices and student loans and wedding rings online. It's very much a consumer-centric environment, but not this. Not this, right? And so when you add all this, it really leads to us spending a lot more than we need to. On average here in Southern California, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the last few that I've been privy to, they've been quoted well over $30,000 to $40,000 for all the funerals that these families have wanted on average. So these are nice luxury cars, small homes in some areas, you guys. Now, these reports that we sell, because we're the only company in the world with all their prices we share with our clients. And we sell these things for almost $30. $29 report if you're not a member of Everest, but if you are, they're unlimited for you, right? They're unlimited for you. They're very simple to use. It's going through a refresh. I hope to launch hopefully in the next couple months, but here's what this looks like today. I'm gonna go ahead and put, let's say, hey, Robert, what's your zip code? If you're there. Or someone throw me a zip code.
91740.
Very good. 10 miles out, just in case. And every single one of them will show up. All we do now is pick up to 8 of them. I'll try to pick non-crematories only. We can pick 2 for us. Let's make sure the prices are the same so that I can compare apples to apples here. So we're going to try to stay away from just crematories. 6. You have 2, I see. Yeah, that's at 8. And that's it. Very good. You picked 8 of them. and they'll put them on these amazing reports because these reports are normally bought by non-member Everest members. And so typically when you go out and buy or $30 report like this, it's probably because you're going through some stuff, right? Either you got loved ones in hospice or convalescence, or you just lost a loved one. So we know when people purchase this a la carte, it's because they're going through some stuff, right? So we want to give them more than just pricing, some really useful information, try to be as transparent with the limited amount of time that we have. For example, these are the type of services offered in the marketplace today. I don't know if you thought there were 10 different options, but there aren't. This is it, right? And of course, the same questions come up again and again when people first engage in this process, because for most of us, we don't think about this. I mean, along with a car, a wedding, a house, and a college education, this is the other most expensive things you'll spend money on. We spend a lifetime thinking about the other four. And once we're ready to buy that, of course, we talked about how very much a consumer environment, consumer-centric environment it is. And of course, the third big difference between those four and this is those are optional. And yet when it comes to this moment in time, we don't think about it often. We want to give as much FAQ as possible. And then the pricings begin. Here they are, you guys. So it's going to look very different than this in a couple of weeks, hopefully a couple of weeks, but it's going to look very different than this. I've seen the new version. It looks absolutely amazing. But these are like services here. You got the service providers up on top, 4,000, 6,500 bucks here. What is that? Almost 10 grand, almost 12 grand a year. So about 3,000 or so difference in price. And that's not even the worst delta I've seen. I've seen some areas where there's a 300% variance between one place to another, just right down the street, which is mind boggling. Now, as you look at these prices, yeah, I mean, these things are more than what most Americans can come up with right away. Right? If it's true that most Americans would struggle with $1,000 emergency, these things are going to be a pressure on them and could alter the overall trajectory of their finances, right? Because of this, as mentioned earlier by Robert. So these things are absolutely true. Listen, right now, GoFundMe, there's a reason why burial is number one in terms of the categories. There's over 2 million active accounts just on people trying to bury their loved ones on GoFundMe. This is a way to actually make sure that they can have a dignity when it comes to that moment in time. So these are actual prices for full burials. Here are cremation prices, you guys. We got 3,800 bucks here for the whole thing, burial, cremation and burial, or in the services. I should not burial, but memorial services. And over here, we got 9,000 bucks here. At least they're consistent here at Forest Lawn, right? 9 grand. That's a massive difference. And if you paid 9 grand, you probably walked out of there thinking, you know what? I paid a lot less than I expected to pay. That was a lot less than what a burial would have costed me. Not knowing, like, right down the street, you could pay almost 6 grand less. What does 6 grand do for most families right now in America? That's a massive, massive difference. Now, here are just straight direct cremation prices. 1,700 bucks here. Again, Forest Lawn comes in heavy at 3,600 bucks, about twice, about 2x. This information does not exist out of Everest. Forest Lawn, if you live in Southern California, know how popular they are. We can steer Americans in a different direction. And if you own the Everest package, of course, you don't have to even look at this. Like, our concierge will leverage all this information and make sure you don't pay these retail prices. We're going to start from here and make sure you pay a lot less. So this information does not exist out of Everest. Now, here's another area where WFG agents that own Everest have found a great way to start conversations. I showed you resources earlier. We've put things together that you can share with your community. This is another great area as well. Next time you hear about a loss within your network or someone that's may lose a loved one soon, instead of just sending your condolences and your love, which are important, pull a report for their area and leave it with them. It's going to add great conversation, great value when they really can't find other places to find answers. And if it's not exact, you can always go back and create more reports for them to be really exact, because again, it's free for you. It costs them $30 a report if they did it otherwise. So you guys, that is what the Everest package is as a whole. You saw the concierge, saw the money that pays out quickly, but you also saw the aspect of Everest that your clients will be using on an everyday basis to make sure my life is better today. It's not just about leaving money behind to your family and loved ones. Very, very good. So all the things that we're talking about here really lends us to be talked about on a everyday basis. I truly believe, again, by the time someone says, I'm interested in buying life insurance, or I want to be proactive with what I'm doing in my life, I truly believe whether you're 25 or 35 or 45 or 65, these will it'll resonate with you. Not just death benefit, but death benefit actually pays out when you need it, right? Or someone that speaks your language and knows your culture to walk you through this anywhere in the world. You can retire anywhere in the world and know you can take this with you. Or whether it be the legal protection or the way you say organized. All these, I think, can be permanent, just natural part of all the other conversations you're having right now with your clients. Very, very good. So all those services are yours from day one. There's no difference depending on how you power it. Here at Everest, we have 3 different insurance programs you can pick from to power these things with. And of course, the 4th way you can get Everest is our collaboration with Transamerica. Let's go over these very quickly, everyone. These are our most popular programs here. These are our bread and butter. They're our #1 program here at Everest because they give your clients the 2 things they're looking for. Most Americans want easy price point and easy process, pricing and process. And these programs really, they're great at both of those. Here's what I mean. Again, 98% will qualify, right? You can have some pretty interesting medical history still qualify, multiple forms of cancer, diabetic coma you just woke up from, you can qualify for these programs here, right? What about if I'm undocumented? I only have an ITIN, but I've been here a few years. Yes, you can qualify for these programs as well. They offer your business, your clients, the low barrier of entry most of them can get over. And that's important to have in your toolbox. The second thing these things offer, of course, the process itself can't be any simpler. All you ever do with Everest is ask your clients a handful of questions and you're done. No drug test, no blood work, no doctor visit, none of that, you guys. 7, 9, or 10 questions and you're done. You submit these things online, which you should do every time. You'll get an underwriting approval within, or a decision within 2 days or less. That's the majority of the time. If you don't get an approval, right there on the spot. So in terms of process, the 2 P's, the pricing and process, when it comes to process, nothing comes easier on your WFG platform. And we're going to make sure that your clients get taken care of immediately. Make sure your business gets taken care of immediately as well. But what about pricing, right? We talked about LegalZoom and Dropbox I used to have back in the day, 70, 80 bucks a month. They keep raising the prices like every subscription plan does. I pay so much less here and I get so much more. It starts at $5,000, goes to $30,000, $50,000. These are $10,000 death benefit amounts. And guys, this is great. We're talking about something that anyone can afford. And at these price points, not only does it make sense to offer maybe on its own, but better yet, the trifecta, as Johnny would call it, or the total care package, full care package. Every team calls it something different. But what this is really about is making sure that my clients understand that for what you want to accomplish, it's more than just numbers and illustrations. It's really about experiences. Sir, man, I've got a magic box here with Magic Life Insurance Program. What experiences would you love for you and your family as you retire, for you and your wife? And what experiences would you love for your kids once you pass away? What experiences do these things look like? As you talk about that, I think it's very hard to not talk about things beyond just death benefit. How about money actually pays out when you need it? Legal protection, travel around the world. What about your way to stay organized? And as I do that, I leverage the Everest package. We check off so many of the boxes we created together, my client and I mean, if I'm not having an honest conversation with them, we're creating a long to-do list. How amazing it is to offer Everest package where I can mark off so many of those things. Yet when it comes to their target premium, their monthly budget, it leaves a small footprint. And that's the kind of value add Everest can be for your clients, but for your business as well. But you're gonna have another type of client as well, right? Because if you have people that want to make monthly payments towards their financial goals and dreams, that's who that's for. The IUO client, BUO client, term client, that's who that's for. But you're gonna have annuity clients as well. You're gonna have people with assets, and right now, if the estimates are true, we got about 6 to 7 years left in terms of a window to help the baby boomers transfer wealth. So inevitably, right now, you're gonna run into clients with assets more now than ever before. And as you do, this program will make more sense for them. This is pay once and you're done. Single premium and you're done. The death benefit's always more than what you put in. It's guaranteed as well, unlike any index-based program, including annuity. There's exposure to risk there, not here, right? It's absolutely guaranteed. So if you got $1 million rollover, 100,000 rollover, well, I would put a little bit of this here. Let's put most of that, stay aggressive, put into these other index programs, but we'll take small of that. Money that you won't need for retirement. Money you may need to specifically set aside for your kids, people you want to leave money behind for. We'll put it here, max it out, it's guaranteed. We'll surround it with all these tools. And unlike that annuity I sold you, this money's going to pay out within 2 days or less after contestability, tax-free. So for example, 50-year-old female does this, puts 50,000 in here. I can double that overnight. Now instead of 50,000 slowly going through the probate process, if it's a secure program, or maybe a qualified program, maybe it comes from an old life insurance program where it may go through the death benefit process. We pay out within 2 days or less, almost 100 grand, tax-free. And of course, all those services we've been talking about, they're a part of her life as well. So again, 2 different types of program, WFG. We've got one here for people with assets, right? Rollovers, annuities, well, qualified accounts. And this one here is for those that want to make a monthly payment. But what do they all have in common? No doctor visit, no blood work. All you ever do with Everest is ask a few questions and you're done. 2-day underwriting, vast majority of the time. On these programs here, you may even receive an instant approval right there on the spot. Keep that quick, simple, urgent nature of our business. Keep that in mind, because when at the end of this training, as we talk about points and how quickly we advance, you'll see the full circle why we need to be part of your toolbox, your net recruit, your 3 through 30, and all the things you're doing in your business. Very, very good. So the fourth way of getting Everest, of course, is our collaboration with Transamerica. It's been awesome. Way beyond anyone's expectations. It's been amazing, guys. And thank you so much for that. But as you know, because the programs are two different insurance companies, they behave differently. Differently enough where people that own the Everest package and the FIUL, regardless of the death benefit amount, people that own both are holding on to both. And different enough where most of my agents that are succeeding with or that sold both are still selling both, like the way I know Johnny as well. And so let me give you some of the differences you need to keep in mind, because I think we're not simply just taking orders. Our clients aren't coming to us saying, I need a term, and that's not what they're saying. They've got some experiences, certain things they have in mind, what they would love to have for themselves and their family. And if I connect those dots between the programs here in WFG and their value proposition and things that we have with things they want to accomplish, that's where sales can occur. And so I want to make sure that we're doing our best fiduciarily to give them what they actually can experience, opposed to what they think they have. So here's what I mean by that. We talk often about you need at least $250,000 worth of death benefit on the FFIUL 09 to get the Everest for free. And that's true. What doesn't get talked about often is once the death benefit falls below $250,000, the Everest does go away. So let's say, for example, you've got a client that you sold a $500,000 IUL to, which is great, $500,000. They love the Everest package on it. You had long-term care as well, which is important, right? More than 85% of us, or thereabouts, 80 to 85% of us, we don't die in or sleep WFG. We're going to some type of facility. You got long-term care in the IUL, it's going to get used. Going to get used. So you got all that on there. It's great. She walks away. Been using the Everest package the way she should. Talk to the concierge, left an experience for the family, been updating the legal documents as she lived her life, upload things the way she did too, not thinking about her death, but just living her best life. But she gets sick, like most of us will. She goes in some type of facility, long-term care kicks in, draws from the death benefit, falls below $250,000, the Everest will go away. It'll go away. So some additional things to keep in mind. You know that on the FIUL, they'll pay up to up to 25,000 of your death benefit in 3 days or less. They'll do that. So on the IUL, once your loved one passed away, your insured passed away, they'll pay up to 25,000 of the death benefit within 3 days or less. And that's amazing because Everest needs that to do all the things we need to do for your family, but lots of restrictions there as well. For example, if you have multiple primary beneficiaries, more than one, and I can't pick my favorite child, right? Like, how do you just pick one? The 25,000 is null and void. If the insured is not in the US when they pass away, vacationing, retired overseas, again, 25,000 null and void. The families have to wait for the entire thing to pay out in a couple of months. If the beneficiaries are not American citizens and they're not physically in the US, null and void. And the big one here is if you have a balance out. We talk about infinite banking, tax-free retirement. We encourage our clients to borrow against the IUL as we should, but if there's a balance out on it, the 25,000 is also null and void. So if I've got a client talking to me about how there's long-term care on the IUL and how she wants to maybe move to South Korea and retire there, and she's got 3 primary beneficiaries and all beneficiaries don't even live in the US, she may think she has the Everest experience, which you may have sold her, but in fact, she will never experience that. Her family will never experience that. So please ask the big open questions, understand what the long-term plans are for your clients. It still may make sense to add the Everest package to the FIUL you're selling for over $250,000. Ooh, very, very good, you guys. So what we're really talking about here is the natural progression of things, right? We've been talking about the evolution of the life insurance program, and we started out just selling death benefits, which was great, but the market demanded more. Like, hey, we want more. We added things where you can use while you're still alive, right? We added that. And that went really great as well. And of course, this is very much a copycat industry. One carrier does something successfully, everyone's going to follow suit. And so when Transamerica added the Everest package, the word caught on. They caught on. Now, I'm hearing other carriers may add Everest as well. Again, the natural progression of where the insurance world is going. But please keep in mind, if they do add something like us to their IULs, please keep in mind who's number one, who's first, and who's the best. That's always us. Please keep that in mind. I'm sorry. Okay, very good. So this is I showed you the client's website. This is our agent's website here. If you're not appointed with us, you want to submit applications, you want to run quotes, all those great things can happen here. So please write that down. And I'm talking to the leadership here, you guys, but ask to come back. I love to come back and show you how to use all the resources we have here. Maybe talk a little about how to sell perhaps, and maybe even show you how to submit an application and do all those great things as well. So I look forward to maybe doing part 2 of this. So why Everest? Easy to qualify for, 98% qualifies. For a 40-year-old man to get started with Everest, $20 a month. That means for almost anyone you know, less than $1 a day. The trade-off of the security we're providing and your life as what it is not about your second home or your college fund. It's nothing that substantial. We're talking about, do you need 4 or 5 cups of Starbucks a day? Can we make it 2 or 3, right? Do you need all the subscriptions that you own? You have about 25 of them. Can we get rid of 1 or 2? That's the trade-off we're asking for. And for most Americans that say, I'm interested in life insurance, I don't think it's much of a trade-off. And down here, we talk about points advance quickly. We talk about how quickly we underwrite and get things out in force and make sure things happen quickly on the underwriting side. Well, here's the other half of that circle. Here's how you calculate the Everest points and how we advance. The average Everest package is worth anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 points. You take your annual premium, you multiply that by 107%. It sounds great, but really 1.07. We're platinum, so it's better than nothing, right? You take your annual premium times 12, times that by 107%, which is 1.07. Those are your total points. You take your contract to that, that's your commission. So for a training associate, brand new, I just got appointed with Everest this past week. You spend about 15-20 minutes with us, which is how long applications take. You can make about $200 to $350 every 15-20 minutes with us. That's pretty good use of your time. If you're an SMD, a senior broker within the industry, within the organization, like Robert and some of the other SMDs that are on the call are, you submit 3 pieces of Everest business a week, you can make over $100,000 a year just on that Everest business alone. There's SMDs doing that right now. And they're not doing that like, I got to get up in the morning, sell Everest today. That's not what they're doing, everyone. They're simply reminding themselves to just add 90 seconds to conversations they're going to have anyways. Like I've got 4 appointments for term and IUL this today, right? They're not going to set up additional appointments for Everest. All they're simply going to do is remind themselves to add 90 seconds to those 4 conversations I'm already going to have. Just simply start with that, and you'll be amazed how quickly and how responsive your clients are. Very, very good. So how do we advance then, right? So that's how you calculate it. So once you submit a piece of business with us, 40% is already yours. And once that business goes active, which usually happens in about 48 hours, the other 40% pays out as well. Within that first week, 80% could already be yours. Think about what that can mean against your promotions, your runs, your uplines runs, net recruits, right? Also, the last 20% gets chopped up into thirds, and they get paid equally on the 10th, 11th, 12th month of the policy year. So you'll get 100% by end of the year. But more importantly, that first few days, that's so critical when you submit an application. We'll underwrite very quickly for you and make sure the points pay out very quickly for you as well. Very good. So everyone, I hope that was helpful to you. I wanted to give you kind of a general overview of what Everest is for your clients, but kind of tie in what it could mean for you and your business as well. And if I did my job today, there's one takeaway I hope you all had, which is, Everest is a great final expense program where, I know that they approve it 90%, and you always knew that about Everest. So when I get turned out a term or IUL, I can look at Everest. And when someone calls me specifically for a final expense program or burial kind of program, I naturally go to Everest as well. And listen, that's the natural 2 buckets of business. I think that naturally comes with what we do. But my call to action, my hope is that you find the value of Everest isn't just about that. It really is about living your best life today. It's about giving your family empower, encouragement, also the ability to have some semblance of control on this journey with you. And by simply giving a small little Everest package, all these amazing things can happen. And inversely, of course, all these amazing things can happen for your business as well. So thank you again for letting me be part of it, everybody. And to the leadership here, thank you again. And hope to see you all very, 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 very soon. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, David. That was great information. And right now, I would like to open it up for anyone that's on this call to type in any questions that they may have in the chat window. And what we're going to do is we'll try to answer those questions. But one of the questions, David, that a lot of people ask about these policies is that say they get a $10,000 policy, and then they do the math in their head, and then they say to you, well, by this age, I'm going to have paid that amount into the policy anyway. So why should I get a policy?
That's a super great question, Robert. And I think that's a conversation we have with ourselves with a lot of parts of our lives, whether it's car insurance or homeowners insurance. We may never use those things, but I think we find value in knowing that we're secure. And unlike those things, we know this is coming, which is different, right? But here's how I would say this. All final expense programs in the marketplace are all whole life. They all are, and they have to be whole life. Whole life is the only insurance program in the marketplace that offer your clients 2 things that are critical to being final expense. Number 1, the payments can never go up. I don't care how old I get, how sick I get, it can never correct. And of course, for things like IUL, there are points of correction in terms of IUL premiums, they can go up. We can't let that happen on a final expense program. The other part that needs to be absolutely true has to be the fact that death benefit pays out, guaranteed. It can't expire like a term. There's a reason why 98% never pays out. A lot of it's because people outlive their term insurance. We've got a lot of people that actually outlive the term insurance that come and get an Everest program because they can't afford a new term anymore, and they can't afford IULs because now they're so much older. That's a pretty common story with me, to be honest. I get two or three of those calls every week. So all final expense programs have to be whole life, which means payment that never goes up no matter what, which is great. Because here at Everest, we offer you all those services, like telling me that my subscription plans and my car insurance plan will never go up in price. It's almost like telling me that. But also payout has to be guaranteed. I can't be older in life and pass away and realize it expired on me. So those are two things that only a whole life insurance gives you. And the reason why every final expense program here on Earth are all whole life. Having said that, yes, Robert, you live a long, long time. You could actually pay more than you get back. You can, right? So here's what I would say to that. That's true for all whole life, all final expense program. What Everest does to kind of counter that is, one, of course, our money pays out within 2 days or less when a lot of them don't. Also, please do the math. I would encourage you to do that. The tipping point for the death benefit to the premium that you paid doesn't typically happen until you're well into your 70s. Typically for people beyond normal life expectancy rate here in the US. Doesn't happen overnight, you guys. For males, it's typically late 70s. For females, typically early 80s. So these are beyond most life expectancy here in the US. So it's not like it happens overnight as well. So there's value in that. And here's the other thing you keep in mind. We also offset that with the negotiating of the price of the funeral and all the services we provide as well, which I think you can add a lot of value to. And once you start talking in those terms, they no longer look at Everest as a life insurance program where they're doing that math. They look at it as a subscription plan where I get to enjoy all this security and all this value add while I'm still alive. I just have to make the simple payment to enjoy that. And I think that's a concept a lot of Americans do understand. But here's the last point I want to make. It's not a charity. Your clients pass away 3 months after getting an insurance program with Everest. We're not paying 3 months prorated death benefit. We're paying the whole thing out. 6 months later, we're paying the whole thing out. 1 day, we're paying the whole thing out. So please keep in mind, until that tipping point does happen, the life insurance program doesn't even become profitable for the life insurance company. It really doesn't, if you really think about that. So yes, we do our best to keep the prices low. The tipping point isn't until you're well into your 70s or early 80s. We add all this value to counter that. But yes, Robert, it's still a whole life insurance program. And I can put so much lipstick on that pig, brother. But that's still a whole life insurance program. We try to put as much lipstick as possible, but it is what it is. But we try to counter that unlike anyone else.
Yeah,
that makes
so
sense.
That
David?
actually, oh,
Hi.
Hi, everyone. I was asked that question,
Hey, Vern.
and this is how I answered it. For someone who, because usually it's between $1 to $3 a day. And so how much do people pay for Dropbox? So it's a service. And so what I had said was, yes, it covers when someone passes away, it pays out to the beneficiary, but how much is it worth to have someone that you can call on who's going to handle your funeral planning at that time of need? Peace of mind is priceless. And we went through
Whenever I hear
the application.
Question come up during like a meeting with a client,
Mhm.
it's typically because it's not expensive or the money's the issue. They just don't see enough value in it. I didn't do my job. If I did my job correctly upfront to create the value and connect it to the needs of my clients, those things almost never come up. And so when someone says something's too expensive or they bring up the financial aspect of it, they're not saying I don't spend this money elsewhere. What they're saying is, I can't see myself spending money on this because I don't quite see the value of this compared to my cup of coffee or my Netflix or my Hulu. Surveys are done every year, you guys, and Americans are asked, if you lose your job, what goes first? Your TV subscription or your life insurance program? And guess what most Americans say, and it's not even close, life insurance premiums are let go before TV subscriptions for most average Americans. What Everest does add value in other ways. Once they start using Everest, you'll find that they're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Yeah.
David, thank you so much. I want to thank you, David. One of the things that I feel like I grew up with David in this business, and Rob and we were less than a year licensed, and we didn't, I guess you can say we didn't have the experience as, licensed agents to say and do the right things. But we had a teammate pass. And when that teammate passed, David and all of the Everest representatives, they were with us hand in hand, day in and day out to assist. And that gave us such a great sense of conviction to why it is so important to have an Everest account. Because not only do we get the support from someone like David, but we also get the support from the concierge staff. And they were with our teammates' family every day, hand in hand. And not only that, a year after, we had another teammate's husband pass. And, it was her husband who had passed from COVID. And people often think, that might exclude them from the payout benefits, but she received the full amount. And she, initially the husband thought, okay, this monthly premium is too high. She received $15,000 after he had passed, and he had contributed $700. And so you think about value. It's the love and support that you get, especially in your time of need, that you get from Everest and their staff. It's second to none. And so thank you so much, David. And in addition to that, I have a 22-year-old and I have a 20-year-old. When we got them an Everest account, they were 15 and 17. As soon as they turned 18, I knew, and I hope parents who have older children, I hope you know that once your child becomes an adult and is 18, you need to have all the legal documents. And being in this business and having someone like David, we had our children prepared. They have their own Everest account. We had them fill it out. It made them feel like responsible adults. And we got their legal documents notarized as well.
Vern, me too. And when my kids turn 18, I hand over the Everest package over to them. Can you imagine what they'll find in their Tenzing? Everything just basically everything to embarrass them once they become adults. What I put up there now. That's the only thing I download in their Tenzing is things to embarrass them once they become 18 years old. And I'm doing that, but also along with it is also their birth certificate and their report cards, regardless of how good or bad it is. And I owe it to them. And in a time in life where it feels like legacy and connections and roots and ancestors don't mean as much. I don't believe that, and I want to make sure I leave my family with some continuation and legacy beyond just money. And Everest can allow me to do that, and it's cool. I think it's very cool for very little price.
It's very grateful for you, David. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you,
being a
Vern.
speaker here and helping our new teammates and some of our guests truly understand the value of what we do and what we can.
If you have guests on here, Vern, thank you so much for attending. If you don't do this with Everest, please do find the solution elsewhere. But I can tell you, if you try to put this on your own, what's on the marketplace, it gets much more expensive. So I would love to bring you on as a member. But for the agents on board, if I haven't worked with you before, please call me anytime, and I look forward to supporting you and your business as well. So, but Vern, I can't thank you and Rob enough. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. So thank you everyone for coming to tonight's presentation. And like I said, the reason I got into this industry is because I dared to ask myself those uncomfortable questions, right? So it's a matter of what kind of legacy are you gonna leave behind? Are you gonna leave behind, a mess when you pass away, or are you gonna leave behind, everything set in place, right? So for this month of June, this is a new month for the licensed and non-licensed agents that are in the business right now. We're actually going to be running a contest. So me and Vern are talking to David to see what kind of